listening to The Chris Maher Show, live on YouTube.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back here to the program. Lots to talk about tonight. A couple more moves in Flyerland coming up. We got Mike Knuble here in 5 minutes, and Bill Meltzer will be joining me at 6:25 here on the show. Game 5 tonight, Stanley Cup Finals. Vegas with a 3-1 lead, winning Game 4 Saturday night. It was a good game, very entertaining. There was a lot there and a lot to kind of see in that game. And obviously at the end, there was, scrums and, the fights and all that. Valerie Camillo out in Philadelphia, steps down from her role. Patrick Sharp in as special advisor to the GM. Kind of similar to Danny B's role when he was, before Danny was interim and then now GM with the Flyers. Look, I think there's a lot to kind of unpack here. I'm going to be talking about it with Mike here in a couple of minutes. Again, as I said, Knuble, Bill Meltzer joined me. Peter Laviolette, former Flyers head coach, to the Rangers. Ottawa is finally purchased. There's still some more, things kind of coming out with the NHL, and there's going to be a lot more stuff coming soon. Obviously, draft in a couple of weeks, all of that stuff. But I just want to kind of put this out as well before we kind of get started here. Just a reminder to check out SeatGeek and all the sponsors that I have. All the sponsors are linked all over my entire page, like on the show and everything else. As for SeatGeek, as the sponsor of pretty much the entire show, you can use code FlyersFanmania for $20 off your first purchase of $50 or more. SeatGeek is great. I personally use SeatGeek whenever I can to try to. It's just very simple and easy. There isn't really many hiccups or anything like that. Again, just going off that, the Sharp news today, there's definitely a lot to kind of talk about there, because I think one of the biggest things with the Sharp thing is you have a guy now that is obviously knows the city, right? Knows the fans. Obviously played here a little bit. Not, wasn't anything like long. It wasn't anything long, right? Only 66 games as a Flyer, but he won a Calder Cup with the Phantoms in 2005. Pretty ironic too that it's around the same date. It was only a couple days ago, the anniversary of the 1998 Calder Cup, and then 2005 as well. So pretty cool, and also ironic that that Sharp does get hired, but he's the guy that obviously worked in as a broadcaster as well. Played 973 NHL games. Played a long time with the Blackhawks. Obviously won 3 Stanley Cups. Was a big part of Chicago's run and all that stuff. But to me, I think it's a home run. I think it's a guy that you add who. He's going to be working with more of the younger guys. And I look at it that way because, he was a younger guy when he was here. And he, pretty much buried on the fourth line. I'm going to be asking Bill Meltzer about that as well. And obviously, Bill, I think I was 2 or 3 years old when Sharp was traded. So that's probably part of it. But, also, there's other things that kind of go along with it. Obviously, Camillo steps down as well. And that's obviously a big part of it, because she was essentially one of the last hires of Chuck. So we'll see. It's definitely interesting to kind of figure out and see. What's up, everybody? Got 16 people in here. Jeffrey, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. There we go. Mike's actually ringing my personal. Let me get him to Tristan, I will get you after, buddy. I promise. I know that's you ringing the line. I'll get you after. So sorry about that. We're waiting for Mike to kind of ring up here. Switch over to the screen. So yeah, there's a lot to kind of unpack here, but second edition of Kicking and Knoobel starting up now. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good, Chris. How are you, buddy?
Good, man. How you doing?
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for doing this.
Got the golf course today, so yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a little busy with the Flyers recently. We got the Provorov deal obviously last week. Patrick Sharp was hired today. I guess we'll start there. Any kind of thoughts on Sharp getting added to the Flyers hockey ops team?
Well, it's funny because when we played in Philly, Sharpie was my roommate, right? And then he had a hard time. It's funny, as a player, he had to end up with a really nice career, but as a player, he had a hard time like with Ken Hitchcock, and they him to Chicago, and then he went off and was a pretty good star, in Chicago. So I know Patrick, when he was first starting out and he won a Calder Cup there with like Carter Richards with the Phantoms and all that. But again, it's really interesting because, you throw in Danny without a ton of experience, and then you throw in Jonesy, who's never been in executive position before. And then Patrick Sharp was doing TV and on NBC for a while, and then he was doing TV in Chicago. So very interesting. Like it's definitely like a new angle on stuff, right?
Yeah.
A new take. When people get ripped on for just hiring and regurgitating guys, like Danny is certainly, and the Flyers are certainly outside the box right now on some new blood and new thoughts and new ideas. So I don't know, I guess we'll see how it goes, So
yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like that to me, that's one of the key things with all this, I think, Mike, is the fact that it's not just like you're adding guys, with experience, because obviously these guys have experience, just not in these roles. I think that's one thing that's kind of evident in the whole thing. But I think the biggest part of it too is that it feels, and I guess the way to put it is, to me, it just feels better to be a Flyers fan again. Like, it feels refreshing, and it's not like, I personally was never lost that fandom or anything like that. Obviously, I told you before, I can't skate. I've never really played anything higher than ball, but it feels really good to just be a fan again, and it seems like there's a real, they're legitimately going at this rebuild in the right way. The second part of that as well, so Patrick Sharp comes in, Valerie Camillo steps down, president of business operations. Is there anything that you could maybe comment on with that as well? It seems like that there's, it was more on her terms, and to me, it was a little weird, I guess, because of the way that the press conference went when they announced Jonesy and Briere and everything. It seemed like everybody was kind of on the same page.
Well, and I don't know Valerie. I think the dynamics of how the team has been run has changed a lot. It's certainly gotten very corporate with Comcast and Comcast. Or it seemed like Valerie was in charge of really like redoing Wells Fargo. Those business relationships and stuff like that. Like she was like right up her alley. So I'm not sure if something happened or whatever, or she saw something and said, I don't want to be involved. I have no idea. That's just me speculating. When
right.
Somebody leaves quick, you're always like, well, what happened?
Right.
And it seemed like basically said it seemed to me like, reading about her and kind of reading about the situation, that they basically gave her the keys to the castle. Like, this is basically your ship. All the business side of Wells Fargo is up to you. And
right.
I don't know. I guess I don't know what that means. And there's always, again, what we see as the public, so to speak, there's always more layers underneath, right?
Right,
and so that you can only speculate, and you don't want to get in the speculation game either. But it seems like that she was basically in charge of everything, and then change gears. So who knows,
Right.
I know there was above her too, and maybe something happened there where she didn't jive with that person that came in when there was a change right above her. But who knows? But certainly as a, but changing, to the second part of your question, as a Flyers fan, it's certainly like exciting.
Yeah.
It's certainly something's going to happen here. You're like, okay, well, it's not the same old, you have John Tortorella as a coach, and you can argue that Tortorella, he's not a regurgitation by any means, but he's certainly a personality, and there's certainly some baggage that comes along with John Tortorella. And then you add in Jonesy, you add in Danny, and you add in Sharpie. Now you're like, well, okay, we're going to have some new blood. We're going to have some new ideas here, And so that's certainly exciting as a fan. And I guess in January we'll have an idea if it sort of worked that way, and you trade Provenov, and and there's change going on. So I always thought that was the one thing, man. Like, organizations and the Flyers were one that didn't stay the same. And if stuff wasn't going right, there was going to be changes, and they'd be changed at the player level, it'd be changed at the executive level, changed at the hockey level, hockey ops level, and certainly all those boxes are checked.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the thing. I think the biggest thing with it, Mike, too, is just everybody just seems like excited now, and like that just went away. And I think like the biggest thing was like we didn't have to, make that like be the thing. I guess it's like we always kind of had that like that fandom, you know what I mean? Like the Flyers are always that type of fan base. You never really had that, and it seems like that they're certainly taking the whole new era of Orange thing very, very clearly, and they're really attacking it. Just to switch gears a little bit, Vegas up 3-1. Cup is in the building tonight. Have a chance to win on home ice. The atmosphere in this game is going to be absolutely bananas. But as for, I have a couple things here, but I guess we'll start with Florida. Down 3-1. Tkachuk is banged up. Is there any part of you that sees them coming back in this series here, or no?
I don't know. I mean, watch Tkachuk play the last game. I mean,
yeah, he's banged up. Yeah.
Something's killing him. And at the end of the day, he's the straw that stirs the drink. And if he can't go, they have a really hard time. He's their emotional leader. He's the one that just gets everybody fired up. He drags the rest of the team into the fight. Mm-hmm. And if he's not going to be into it, and he can't drag everybody into it, I think they have a really hard time. I mean, I think they have some guys that jump in when he jumps in.
Yeah.
That they can help. I think they got a few guys that'll get involved a little bit. I mean, Gudas is such a pain in the ass. The ex-Flyer, he's a pain in the ass. To play against on the. He's dinged up. He actually. He got popped in game 2 or 3 when he tried to step up on a Vegas guy and got himself in trouble there. Mm-hmm. Like Sam Bennett, I think he likes to get a little feisty, but it seems like they do it kind of after Tkachuk does it, and he's the leader of that part of the game. That bite part of their game, and if they don't have him, I'm not sure that they have enough emotional energy left, because to be an and climb that ladder. They've won on emotion. They've won on some really breaks. And at the end of the day, Kachuk's the guy getting the goals in the last minute. Yeah. He's uncanny. He's so uncanny trying to score, getting those last minute goals. Like, if he's not doing it, I don't know who's doing it, So, if you're a betting guy, if you ever had a hunch, I mean, you got to, and I don't know what the line is on Vegas today, but Vegas at home right now with a beaten down Flyers team. I bet my last FanDuel on the Nuggets last night, so
did you?
It's like if there's a game that's a sure bet is Vegas at home on a beaten down Florida team, in my opinion. I think it's pretty much over tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like, that place is gonna be just rocking, and the atmosphere, everything, and again, like, Vegas is just the team that like, Florida's been able to kind of do this whole thing where, like, they kind of, like what you said, like, they agitate. Tkachuk is part of it, but Vegas just doesn't seem to give a shit about it. Like, they just don't react. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the game, Tkachuk's like going at Pietrangelo, and he doesn't even respond. It's like they have no answer for them, and it really just seems like the run is over. Just kind of going off that. Is there any guy that you could pick right now, I guess, for Vegas, since obviously they're really driving the bus here in the series? Who right now is your Conn Smythe winner? Is there anybody you can think of? Because to me, there's a few. Eichel's one, Hill is another, Pietrangelo, Marchessault. There's certainly it's really hard, I think, to pick one of them. But is there any guy that you could think of?
I think for me, I think, obviously, if Florida wins, it's probably Kachuk. That's not going to happen. So Maher Show has been so clutch. But for me, it's probably the goaltender Hill. I think there was some jockeying around with goalies in the beginning of the series, in the beginning of the whole playoffs in Vegas, and at the end of the day, he's really settled in. I think he's just been really stellar for them. I think Eichel's been fine. I mean, I don't think he's been as dominant as Kachuk, like offensively, and as robust, or as timely.
Right.
I mean, I think he plugged away and gotten points and stuff, but he's been injured a couple of times. He's been fine. And when I say fine, I mean, he's still like a world-class player. But if you're picking, if you got to pick this thing apart, to me, it's Maher Show has been much more clutch. And, but I think you're going to go with the goalie Hill. And I think he's been as steady, and he's just given him a chance every night. He's been, his numbers are great, and he's just been so solid. So, I mean, I think that's a guy I would have to pick if I had a vote in this whole thing. Okay. Especially if they close it out tonight, and it's a 1-goal game or something like that. He's for.
Yeah, so. I mean, he just had so many timely goals. It's like you can't really not pick him. Just going off that, then there's been some Flyers trade rumors recently, and obviously it's going to be happening really up until probably round 1, and throughout day 2 of the draft and everything as well. A lot of different rumors, a lot of different guys have been talked about getting shipped out. Scott Lawton has been the recent one. For me, Mike, I guess I'll give you my thoughts, and I'll ask you. I think the biggest thing for me with Lawton is just the fact that it's not that I understand why he's being shopped, right? Because he makes $3 million. He's a veteran, a leader, right? Very good face-off guy, good on the PK, all that. I mean, he brings so much. But at the same time, it would really stink to lose him because I think he's a vital part to what the Flyers are trying to build. Is that something that you would agree with?
Yeah, I mean, he's been there for a while, right?
Yeah, since 2012. Yeah,
I think he was breaking in when I was there, and at the end of the day,
a little bit, yeah.
He's a fine player, in Philly, and he's been there 10 years, but is he a cornerstone guy? Is he a guy you're going to keep, or is this a guy you're going to keep building around? I say that with respect,
Right.
So if I look at 500 NHL games, he has 199 points.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is expendable, really. I mean, I don't see that as like something that is going to be like, this is a guy we're tied to, right?
Right.
The course of his career, looking at his OHL numbers, 230 games, 219 points. That's okay, and the OHL compared to what people do, that's okay. And even the NHL numbers, he's not even half a point a game.
Right.
And so
yeah, I mean, outside of last year, he's kind of struggled to get at least 20 goals. I mean,
is this a guy, 18 goals last year, 11, 9, 13, 12, 19. He hasn't cracked 20 goals in the NHL. Right. I'm like, why are you tied to this guy? 30, 20, 27. I mean, those are, and with all due respect, those are kind of like pedestrian numbers.
Yeah.
Really. They really are. I mean, so, he went to the Worlds this year, had a nice run of the Worlds, but geez, the last 6-7 years in Philly, I mean, these are like numbers that are like, wow, can we survive without these numbers? Probably.
Right.
And if he's, he's 31 or whatever he is, or 29. So if you can get, if you can move him right now, there, again, we talked about, if you're going to move Provorov, and this guy's $3 million, he should be, taken up pretty quickly by, so.
Right.
I
mean, yeah, and look, I feel like there's two different ways to look at it, and I appreciate and the way that you look at it too, because it's like, goals. I mean, I personally never really looked at it that way, and obviously, it's I think it's different too because, he's more of like, I think the biggest thing is everybody looks at more of the off ice stuff too, but when you look at it that way on the on ice, it's like the production, it's not that great to kind of keep a guy for just kind of going off what you were saying there.
No, and you don't get paid. Like the off ice stuff is good, but that's a compliment. At the end of the day, as a player, you're on ice is you're on ice.
Exactly.
And on what you're doing. And your off ice stuff, your off ice presence, 5%. And that's, you get paid for your on ice performance, and that's why you're there, you know. And if you can add a little bit, separate you from somebody else, but you know, the on ice performance to me is
over everything. Yeah.
Well, okay, you know, is something you could live without.
Right, exactly. You know, it's definitely fair. All right, so one last thing here, Mike, before I let you go. This is something that I was kind of thinking of for a couple minutes. Well, at least throughout the past week, and I was thinking of different things of what I could try to ask you. So I thought of something that was actually kind of funny at the same time. This is actually just trivia against yourself. So I'm going to ask you questions about you, and I'm curious to see if you remember them. All right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember the first goaltender that you scored your first goal as a Flyer against?
As a Flyer?
Yeah, as a Flyer.
I feel like it was like the Rangers or something. It might be Lundqvist.
It was the Rangers, but it was not Lundqvist.
Oh, it wasn't Lundqvist? It was a Valakat or something? Or?
It was Kevin Weeks.
Kevin Weeks? Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I remember the
Yep.
It was like maybe a 5-on-3 or something like that.
Yeah, it was a power play goal. October 5th, 2005. Flyers did lose the game 5-3, but that was your first goal as a Flyer. Second one. As a Flyer, do you know what team that you scored your first hat trick against, which also I should add, it was a natural hat trick against?
Well, that was my only hat trick, so that's an easy answer, actually. Okay. Anaheim.
That's right. Yeah, is it really your only hat trick?
That's my only hat trick, man. That was a loaded question.
Wow. You know, it's funny because I was looking at it and I was like, and I'm watching it. I said, oh, 3-0 game. So it was a natural hat trick too. And I was watching it and I'm like, all three goals were different. Like puck at the side of the net, the tip in the slot, and the other one was a 2-on-1 slap shot. So that's kind of different too. It's like getting, three, obviously in a row, and then three different kinds. And then this one is the last one. Only two Flyers played all 82 games in 2007-8. It was you and someone else. I'm curious if you know who the other forward is.
So 05, 06, 6, 7, 7, 8.
7,
the other
8.
forward, I would say it's either Danny or Mike. Like Jeff Carter. Jeff Carter always played a lot of games. It's either Danny or Jeff Carter.
Carter, you're correct.
Carter, okay,
so, so you were 2 for 3, which is pretty good. Well, actually, you were 2.5 for 3 because you did get the team right on the first one. Yeah, no, that was good. That was nice. Good job, Mike. You remember that. So there you go.
Carts is always healthy. He'd always play all the time.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, even to this day, still he was always healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously still playing now, too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, Mike, thanks again, man. I appreciate it. Always good. I appreciate you taking the time and hearing your insight, and I'll talk to you next week, okay?
You got it, Chris. Thank you, buddy.
All right, Mike. I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
See ya. There he is, Mike Knuble on Kicking It with Knuble on the Chris Maher Show. All right, and we got Bill Meltzer coming up here. Oh, turn that off. We got Bill here ringing in. Move this over just a little bit. There we go. Hang on one second, ladies and gentlemen, as I get Bill in a second here. Mike is great. That was like awesome. I was surprised I'm not really surprised that he knew it because, sometimes that stuff comes easy, but some guys, it's kind of hard to remember some stuff, specifically if it's, specific things, kind of like I was asking. This logo just moved on me. It's a little weird. There we go. Awesome. So as we wait in for Bill to kind of ring in here, kind of curious, what's everybody thinking? Oh, here he is now, Bill Meltzer. Hey, Bill, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, man. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. Always good talking to you. I'm curious, Bill, as obviously you're now team employee and everything else, and been working for the team for a while now. Does it feel different for you, at least on the inside, to be a Flyers fan again with everything that's been going on and the new era of orange and all that stuff?
Well, I think that it's an exciting time, and not just because some familiar names are coming back in prominent roles, but the next year or two is going to be crucial. I'm waiting with bated breath to see how it goes, because listen, it depends on how many more moves happen this offseason. But
yeah, right.
The organization may be taking a step back to take several steps forward, hopefully, in the years to follow that. So in the immediate term, it may not show in points, but you look at, they have 2 first-round picks this year, 2 first-round picks next year. If you play your cards right and you continue to build around young players and some of the young guys who stepped up this year can continue to advance, then you come on the other end in a few years after that, and all of a sudden you could be a contending team for a number of years once you break through that. That's always those possibilities that I find exciting. And so it's I guess it's the start of many things to come here,
right?
And I'm just anxious to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I kind of think, just going off that too, it's like, I think for me, I think the biggest thing is just that you're seeing so much change, and I think the biggest thing that I love is just they're fully, like, obviously, last week they make the Provorov deal, and that right there kind of tells you that they're fully admitting to this rebuild and they're really going to take it head on. And obviously there's been a lot of different changes. One comes today. Patrick Sharp hired and honestly pretty much Danny Briere's role before he was GM. Pretty similar is what it seems like. Just an overall kind of thoughts on adding Sharp to the hockey operations staff.
Well, I'll say this: Patty is a very sharp, no pun intended, guy. He's very hockey smart, just a bright guy in general. And I mean, he knows his stuff. He stepped from his playing career to the broadcast booth. He was consulting with the University of Vermont's coaching staff. But really, this is other than broadcasting, his first major step since his playing days back into an NHL organization. I think he can bring the benefit of his wisdom, and when Sharp was on TV as a studio guy, he always seemed to really had good insight into how the game was played.
Yeah. It's funny. He reminded me of Bush a little bit on TV.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. That's a good comparison. And the thing too is that I think sometimes it helps to have had that certain personal experiences. When Patrick Sharp turned pro out of University of Vermont, it didn't click for him right away. Spent a few years with the Phantoms. He did win a Calder Cup, but mostly his career with the Flyers, he spun his wheels. He was mostly on the fourth line, and Ken Hitchcock didn't have a lot of confidence in him. And and a lot of times people tend to overlook. He struggled in Philadelphia, and he did struggle to a degree with the Flyers, but by the same token, he was playing 7.5 minutes, 8 minutes a night.
Yeah. There's not much you can do at that point.
There's not. When a player's, especially when a skilled player is not put in position to succeed, they don't.
Morgan Frost.
Well, yeah, that. I mean, I beat that drum so many times.
Yeah.
Well, put him with appropriate line mates, give him the right ice time, and see what happens.
Exactly.
And in that case, he goes on the first. He moves up in the lineup rather than the first line, but up in the lineup in December, and he leads the team in scoring over the final 56 games. And it could have been that close to the full year.
Yeah.
And that happened too, honestly. So, but Patrick Sharp was the same thing. And when he got to Chicago, it was a rebuilding team at the time. There was the ice time for him. He had the opportunity, and they could afford to be patient. So it didn't. If you look at what Sharp did his first season in Chicago, there still was an indication he was really going to break out in a big way the next year, but he did. and moved up into the top 6. And then then after that, had his first 30-goal season, was an All-Star, the 3 Stanley Cups, all of that. But he understands from his own experience that sometimes it doesn't happen right away for a player, and the importance of patience, the importance of opportunity,
Yeah.
and the importance of culture around the team too. He was a big part of why the Blackhawks built that winning culture in the room. So I'm very much looking forward to see what Patrick's influence will be.
For sure. I mean, and just going off that too, I think it's really important too, because he's just, working with younger guys, right? And it's not just, because obviously like you were saying, right? All of the good things that came out of Sharp from, taking some time and, finally finding his way in the NHL. But I think also too, because he won here, and I think it was important. It might be looked at as crazy, but I think it might be a little bit different in a way of him winning here because of the lockout, right? Because, he had a sold out building for the Phantoms like every night when they were winning, right? I mean, there was no other hockey. So that might, I could be grasping at straws here, but it might be a little bit different in that way. But at the same time, it just seems like a home run of a hire for right now, hoping that can, kind of continue and go into the summer. But obviously there's been so much different things that have been going on with hires and also rumors. For pretty much, it seems like until the day the Provorov trade happened, which was on the 6th, up until probably round 2 of the draft and maybe a week or two after, it's just going to be all different rumors on what's going to be happening with the Flyers. Is there any thoughts that you have on Hart or Lawton, who's been rumored, D'Angelo, just anything? Is there anything that you have thoughts on with just the recent rumors that have been going around with this team? Because once the Provorov trade happened, it just seemed like it just opened the floodgates for all the rumors to kind of just come out.
That seems to happen anyway. Yeah. A team makes a significant move, then all of a sudden, there's going to be a whole bunch of moves, and there might be.
Yeah.
I mean, A, because Danny said we're open for business, we're listening.
Right.
B, because they are in a self-admitted rebuild, so basically anybody could be available for the right price, and so I tend to take all trade rumors with many grains of salt anyway, and I tend to prefer to talk about the team as is until that's not your roster anymore, till it actually changes.
Right.
But obviously the direction they're going in, and for example. I would be surprised if Kevin Hayes is back next year. I don't know how or where he's going to go, how they're going to work it out. Mm-hmm. But I think even Hayes himself is expecting that to go down.
Yeah,
he certainly put that message out there on exit day. Not even that's what he wants, just what he expects. So for that, so I'd be surprised if Hayes is back. And the other guys, D'Angelo, it's funny because. Even though it was Torts that imposed the disciplinary action for him to be suspended scratched the final 5 games of the season, he put also been I can still work with him.
Yeah. And
he's unrestricted after next year. So this isn't a buyout situation. It isn't something where, let's say he goes out and he has 55 points, just say, right?
Yeah.
And he gets close to the trade deadline and a team could really use that power play boost. They're a good 5-on-5 team, but they're kind of a middle of the pack to 20th ranked power play.
I hope so.
Then all of a sudden, you can trade at the deadline and get probably a better piece than you could this summer.
Right.
So I wouldn't be shocked if D'Angelo actually does come back. Tony certainly wants to come back.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be a long-term relationship with the Flyers and D'Angelo or just part of another season or but I wouldn't be shocked if he stays. But by the same token, if you get a decent offer, maybe you cut bait right now.
Right.
But that's a guy who, just because he's on an expiring deal and he can put up points and you know how he can help, in what specific ways he can help you, what his weaknesses are. I think that kind of sets forward about what you could expect to get. Right.
Yeah.
Lawton is a tough call because, and according to what the rumors are, the Flyers have turned down at least one late first-round pick for him. Mm-hmm. I can see both sides of that, right?
I can too, yeah.
Because on the one hand, if you can get a first round value for a guy who's essentially a third line player,
Yeah.
you might have to take that. On the flip side, even in a rebuild, you want to have veterans who set the right example
Right.
around the young
Exactly.
players that you're trying to build around.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at that room, right, first of all, he's probably the most respected guy in the room. Secondly, he sets a great example for work ethic, for caring. I mean, Lawton.
He gives a shit. Yeah.
He totally gives a shit, and he wants to do it as a Flyer. He cares about being a Flyer, and you want guys like that, particularly when you're rebuilding.
And he shows it too. Like it's not like like some guys you could tell. Like Giroux, you could always tell he cared. And obviously everybody used to say it. That he didn't, right? But that's just not the case. For Lawton, like you can see it. The way even just the way he celebrates goals, you can just tell.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the biggest thing out of it. But go ahead if you had more on that.
No. Just to say that, I think one of my favorite things about Lon and is that if you go to an average day on training camp or a game, any game, any given game during the season, and say you've watched hockey for a number of years, but you hadn't been following the NHL lately, and you didn't know who this guy was, but you're coming there, and I would say to you, okay, you would watch him. You think, well, is this guy, is this guy playing for a job? Is he, is he a guy who's worried he's like could be waived or something? Just because he gives that kind of extra gear, that extra effort, he plays like a guy who's trying out for a spot on the team all season long.
Right.
Even though he knows he has a spot.
Yeah.
And that's that kind of example, that kind of competitiveness and work ethic that you want him to have. And the other part of it too is that of course he drives opponents nuts with his chirping. but off the ice will not find a nicer guy. I mean, it's hard not to like Lots.
Yeah, I mean, and he's also just hilarious. I mean, I used to love the mic'd up videos of him and Michael Raffel and everything because they're just so funny. Just kind of going off that then, last week I actually asked Mike Knubel about the Provorov trade, and he actually brought up a pretty good point on how GMs now it seems like he was mentioning that GMs now kind of seems like that they're giving up on guys a little bit that are younger and maybe need some more time or anything like that. And we actually saw that in that deal with the Flyers and Provorov for him being still relatively young, and also with LA for giving up Helggrens to the Flyers. Is that something that you would agree with, since there's just been so many different things that have been going on? Because it seemed like that there's GMs that either give up on these guys when they're young, kind of like Tippett as well, coming to the Flyers, and then on the flip side of that, there's guys like Matt Boldy, Jason Robertson getting signed to these huge, massive deals like right away, as they kind of hit that age, because that number never really goes down.
Yeah, well, I think there's sometimes an element of that. Sometimes one piece of it is that you don't, like Tippett. Well, you end up in a situation where you're, in most cases, it's the team that's been a playoff team. It's not usually the non-contending teams that do it. But you end up in a situation where, okay, well, if he's not on our team, we're going to put him through waivers. He's been through he's been through 3 pro years now, or whatever the case might be. And so maybe we're better off putting him in a trade rather than looking at a situation where he's not playing much, where he might have to go through waivers in a year. And I mean, in terms of Tippett specifically, you had to give something to get Giroux. Well, a single first round pick wasn't going to do it. Right. Even though they were competing against themselves, because he would only go to Florida. That's why the Flyers got basically one first round pick and one young NHL roster player. When the ask was north of that, it was multiple young players. But I think there's a piece of that too, because if you're contending, the window can close quickly, right? And not just because of players' age. Sometimes you have to re-sign guys, and it blows your salary cap out of the water. Right. Or sometimes it can be a variety of things. What happened in Pittsburgh with the window closing was they traded away too many draft picks, and now they're at the end of their window. Right. So Florida situation. In the case of Helga Grans, it's going to be interesting to. It'll be interesting to see. He's still pretty raw,
Yeah.
you know, but he has all those physical tools, you know, and talked with an NHL scout. And actually, I've spoken with another scout subsequently, and one of them was talking. I mean, he likened him to Phil Myers, and he was doing it more in a positive way than a negative way.
Yeah.
But Phil was a guy who never really quite figured it out. You know, he had all the tools in the world, right? Big and strong, he could skate, and
he was just an airhead. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't have the hockey sense.
Right.
That was the biggest thing with Phil. And the other scout that I spoke with said, and I think this is fair. He said, you know, a player has to find his identity. And he said that Grans really doesn't have an identity right now. He doesn't know what he is.
Right.
Is he a shutdown guy? Is he an offensive guy? He doesn't know himself what he is, and that's a big part. That's a big part of a player finding himself when he figures out, this is what I do well. This is what I can contribute to the pro game, and you eliminate a lot of stuff in your game, a lot of extra stuff, right? Simplify it for a lot of players. I mean, unless you're a super skilled guy, you know, a lot of times playing a simpler game ends up being better for them. And Grant is that guy. You know, he's kind of mistake prone, but by the same token, when he's on, he looks really, really good. So there's those flashes where you go, yeah, this guy can be a pretty good NHL defenseman. So defensemen tend to take the longest. Maybe goalies take the longest, but longer than forwards to develop. You know, it's generally wings develop the fastest, center and defenseman, goalie.
Yeah. Goalies take forever outside of Carter Hart.
Yeah. I mean, Carter Hart's at an age right now where a lot of guys who end up to be really good goalies are just entering the league. This year, well, Carter's 24.
Yeah.
Henrik Lundqvist entered the league at 20.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think, wasn't Jacob Markstrom 27 when he made his first start, I think?
Yeah, and Markstrom was a first round pick too, and changed organization. So it's not the easiest thing in the world, you know. So I think, you know, I do think that some organizations are quick to pull the trigger on young players and regret it. I also find that a lot of times organization number one, the team that drafts a kid, ends up getting the growing pains, and the second organization reaps the benefits.
Yeah.
When it clicks with them. Danny Briot's a great example, right? Arizona ended up on waivers.
Yeah.
And he was a first round pick and struggled to click at the NHL, and you know, and ended up in waivers, ended up really not working out until he went to Buffalo, and then all of a sudden he blossomed in Buffalo.
Yeah.
That was, you know, that's sometimes my concern, where you see the talent that's there and you just hope they stay patient and let them work through it.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's definitely interesting because, again, and that's kind of, those are the players that the Flyers need right now, the guys that you can try to work around and see what they can end up being. Is the cup going to be out on the ice tonight, Bill, or do you think the Panthers extend it for another game? What are you thinking?
Well, even if Tkachuk plays, he's less than 100%.
He's at what, 60% maybe?
Yeah. He's clearly hurting. You know, I think that really long layoff hurt the Panthers, kind of took away with the momentum they did have.
I feel like everybody always talks about the long layoff as it's like this great thing, and then it never works out.
And it seems like when you have that week-long hiatus, you come back and you struggle for the first 4 games after that. You know?
Yeah, and you can never find your ground again.
No, I think that obviously scoring first is critical. That's I guess you don't need to say that, but that's statistically the case anyway. But I do think getting up and ahead in this game to have a fighting chance, even then it's not a guarantee. I think the series ends tonight. I do.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. They've done it before against quote unquote the best team in hockey. I mean, who knows? We'll see. Bill, just one last question for you. It's not, it's a question, but it's a trivia question. I figured you'd like this. I've been doing this more with people, and this now again, this is a little kind of a. Let me think of it's a really out there question. You're going to have to kind of think a little bit, but it is a player that you know and like very much. Which player led the Flyers in assists in 1985-86 in the entire season?
Mark Howe.
There you go, Mark Howe. I knew you'd get that one. I was thinking of different things to try to ask, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I wonder what I could ask, like as like a trivia to just kind of end it. And I decided, I was like, I got to go with Mark Howe.
That's a good one. That's my all-time favorite hockey player. If I could play like any one player I've ever seen, it would be Mark Howe. How cool would it to be a 40-goal winger who becomes a Hall of Fame defenseman? You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's really I don't. Has that ever happened before outside of Mark Howe?
Who's been that good in multiple positions?
Yeah, and just switched and like, has that ever happened before?
Yeah, other guys have made the switch. It's not usually a guy who's as prolific of a scorer as Mark Howe was as a forward, though.
Right.
Other guys have done it, have been successful. There have been a couple Hall of Famers actually who played both positions that for a significant portion of their career, but nobody ever played both as well as I personally saw Mark Howe do it.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. All right. Awesome. Bill, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Always good talking to you. Thanks for your time and insight. And we'll do it again soon. All right.
That sounds good. Always a pleasure. We'll talk soon.
All right. Talk to you, Bill. There he is, Bill Meltzer from NHL.com, PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. Trying to figure out which. There we go. Turn this one off. Sweet. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, comment, anything, hit the line 267-939-1216. Tristan, I know you called in. If you'd like to call in again, go ahead. Yeah. No, that was good. Bill's great. A lot of good insight. I think the one thing that I liked there that what he said was kind of similar to the that one question on GM's kind of giving up on younger guys, but got a call here. Tristan, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Chris?
What's up, dude? How are you?
How's your day going?
Good, man. It's been good. Been prepping for the show, and now we're here.
There has been a lot of rumors about trading our good players like Lawton, Konechny, and Hayes right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have a question. Why would you trade your 31 goal scorer?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of trading TK. I am getting another one. I believe that's Sean. If that's you, I'll get you in a second. Yeah, I mean, dude, look, I'm not the biggest fan of trading TK. I think for TK, it's more of keeping him. I think building around him is huge, and also I think the other side of it is, you look at the business side. You need guys to market. Are the Flyers the best at marketing? Go ahead, yeah.
I mean, Schwartz has been getting on him a little bit. I mean, Konechny, he does a little bit of crazy stuff at times too.
Right. I think Torts likes TK, and I think he, understands that there's things that he'll do.
He bashed him before.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he also was injured, and he did have a really good season outside of 2 injuries, and he was only benched for a period, but then he came back. They talked about it, and then Konechny was one of their best players. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I did saw that hire. They hire Sharp.
Patrick Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And
go ahead, buddy.
What were you about to say? You go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it. I think for Sharp, it's a guy who knows. He knows the game, can certainly work with the younger guys, kind of similar to Danny's role, going to be reporting to Danny directly. So it's good to see they're hiring good people here, and we'll see what happens. But go ahead, yeah.
So do you think the Flyers should get Matt Boldy?
No, I don't think he's going to be leaving Minnesota. He's on a really high cap hit. You'd have to trade a lot to get him. I think he's going to be on the Wild for a long time.
Please don't tell me he's similar to Sam Reinhart, because Sam Reinhart's his cap is too high too.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't seem like a lot of those guys the Flyers are going to be getting in the next couple years or so.
I mean, it seemed like that. You're definitely not getting Robinson. You're definitely not getting Joe Pavelski. You're definitely not going to get those type of guys yet.
Yeah.
Like you're not ready. I mean, you're rebuilding, but if you expect those kind of players, you'd be a better team right now.
Right, for sure. And that's the thing. We don't have that much money, so we'll see. But Tristan, buddy, I got another call coming in, so I'm gonna have to let you go, and I'll talk to you soon. All right.
It's cool. Yeah.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you. Okay.
All right. Bye.
See you, buddy. Sean, is that you?
Chris, happy Tuesday to you, my friend. How you doing?
How are you, man? Thanks for ringing in.
Oh, no problem. But full disclosure, I must confess, my wife has dinner ready at the table right now, and she's giving me Bill Clement type dirty looks. So
go ahead. Go eat.
But no, I told her. I said, "Step down, woman. I got Chris Maher on the phone.
So
I'll get to it when I get to it."
What are you eating for dinner?
I don't know, but I guarantee it's nothing good. I mean, she's far from Rachel Ray, if you know what I'm saying. But no, like I said, I told her, just wait a second, woman, check yourself. I got Chris Maher on the phone. I got to prioritize. So let's go over a few things rapid fire. I mean, Patrick Sharp, that's a win-win for the Flyers. I mean, you bring back a guy who seems to be highly regarded in NHL circles and who Flyer fans liked. That's a solid move by Briere and the crew. The Valerie Camillo thing is weird to me. I mean, I don't know if you have any insight on it, but
I don't, but it is weird to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, last week they were singing We Are Family circa Sister Sledge 1979, and now she's turning in her resignation. But I had read, don't know if it's true or not, that she was bucking for Hilferty's job, and when she didn't get it, she thought maybe she was stuck in that position, and maybe she just wanted to go somewhere else to try to advance her career. I don't know. But I have read that, and I mean, you're closer to it than I am, that Flyer fans don't really seem to be too upset about it. I've already seen 5 ticker tape parades scheduled for July 3rd to celebrate her leaving. So,
I mean, look, I think the biggest thing for me is just the fact that it was. I think the it's just weird. I think kind of like what you were saying. They're all at the press conference singing "Kumbaya," and it's like everybody's all happy and sunshine and rainbows and all that, and you end up getting this a couple weeks later. It seemed like that there were more changes, and I don't think there's going to be, I think there are going to be more changes coming, and there's going to be a lot of different things over these next few weeks that are really going to be, evident on the changes of this team, and we're seeing it in the hockey ops side. We're seeing it on the actual, 53-man roster, 23-man roster, everything. I mean, you're seeing so many different things, all of that stuff that just is just coming along with rebuilding. And I think they really are going with a full overhaul here and a full, they're just fully admitting that they're rebuilding. And I think it's exciting because I think, it's kind of like what Mike was saying, and same with Bill, you have a team here, and you have a group that's looking to kind of see a change and see something different, and I think you're getting that now, and they're really taking this whole new era of Orange thing really strong. And again, I know I said that earlier, but it's true. I mean, I think they're really taking this head on, and they're just going right for it instead of going for the home run. They're just going for the base hit right now, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, that leads to my third question. Kind of encompasses that. I want you to play the role of GM as we lead up to the draft.
Okay.
Because I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there at pick 7.
Yeah.
And let's say Matvei Michkov falls to you. do you take the player or do you pass him over?
I take him.
I would too.
I think regardless of the Fedotov thing, I think you take him. I think it's a different situation than Fedotov. Because you have to think Fedotov is older. He won championships. That team in the KHL that he was on, I believe, is CSKA Moscow. I have to double check that, and I apologize if it is wrong, but don't quote me on it.
I'm quoting you right now.
He won championships over there. It was huge. He was fantastic, obviously, as everybody knows. I don't think they wanted to get rid of him right away, and obviously, no one should have to go through what he went through. It's sickening to even think about it, to be honest, but it seems like that's going to be done soon. And if that's the case, then you even have to add more of the whole goalie carousel to that, but that's obviously a different conversation. But I think it's different. Michkov is younger, right? I think everybody over there probably knows that he wants to go to the NHL and wants to play and all of that. So I think if he's there, I take him. I don't think he'll be there, though. I think he'll be going by 5. Tom Willander is another one that I'm really looking at, and they seem to be pretty high on him. So we'll kind of see what happens with that.
The Michkov thing, to a lesser degree, kind of reminds me of the Eagles with Jalen Carter. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that had off-the-field issues, but was supposed to be the most talented player in the draft, and he fell into their lap at 9. Michkov, short of Connor Bedard, is supposed to be, I believe, the second best player in this draft. If he falls into your lap at 7, I'm sorry. I would rather take the risk on talent and run to the podium with the card as opposed to taking a serviceable player, a solid player. I think the Flyers have done enough of that. When you have a chance to get an elite talent, and so what if you have to wait a couple years? You're still in mid-rebuild.
Yeah.
This kid is going to get bigger physically. His skill set is going to increase.
Yeah.
He's going to gain in maturity. I mean, I would wait for him, and like I said, if he fell to me at 7, I'm running the card up to the commissioner.
I hear you. I mean, look, it's definitely fair. I will say it is different, and the mocks that we see are different than the ones that NHL teams have. And also, the best player available isn't always the best player. It's best player available by what the team wants. So it all comes down to that, and I think I don't think they'll move the pick. I think they'll keep it. But Sean, I do have somebody on the other line. I only have one line. And
that's a good thing because my wife has a butcher knife in her hand and she's ready to strike like a cobra. So I got to get out of here. Have a good night, my friend.
All right, man. I'll talk to you. Take care.
All right.
Oh, I just tried ringing that. I just tried answering that and it didn't answer. But calling again. There you go. Yeah, no, I mean, look, the dinner thing, I guess we'll keep that as an inside joke. We'll just do that. My dad's called in 4 times. Here we go. Here's the 5th. Hey, Dad. Here you go. We're finally on the line.
Yo.
What's up?
I need a special line because this. I'm calling in. And
listen,
busy.
The funds are low. All right, they're tight.
Listen, I put the bill for the phone line. So come on. All right.
I guess you'd be paying for a second line then.
Right. All right.
Go ahead.
First of all, kicking it with Knuble isn't a home run. It's a grand slam. I love him.
Thank you.
I love him. That's a great segment, and I hope he continues to. Grace your show.
It's a lot of fun. Mike's super nice, and I couldn't be more thankful for it.
All right. Listen, for stu-nubs like me, what the hell exactly is Valerie, whatever her last name is, Camillo, whatever it is, whatever. What exactly is her role? Okay, and who would be replaced? I'm going to hang up and listen. So just all right. What exactly is her role? What does she do?
Uh-huh.
Who would replace her? Now and then the hiring of Sharp today. Exactly. Is he basically taking over like what Danny Briere did, or
Pretty much.
prior to being GM. All right, I'm going to hang up and listen. All right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
all right, man. Peace out. Great show as always. Love you.
All right.
Later.
Thanks, Dad. Love it. He just comes on, drops a bomb, and leaves. Yeah. No. I mean, I think for Camilo, again, it's really interesting. You know, I really don't know why she left. She was president of business operations, so that's more of like, you know, my guess is ticket sales, you know, marketing, all of that stuff. You know, and just kind of keeping everything afloat. She was pretty big in the whole refurbishment of Wells Fargo and everything, and that whole project of, you know, the Center City Club thing that they did and all that stuff. So they changed a lot of that stuff, and there was a lot of change with that. I do think the big thing with Sharp specifically now, and I should answer the other part of that question as well, which was the who will replace her. That I don't know. I'm not sure who will replace her, if it's an in-house replacement or if they go get somebody from the outside. It seems like the hockey operations and business ops are going to be running at two different kind of things here, so we'll see. As for Sharp, yeah, pretty similar to Danny B's role. The understanding of player personnel, all that stuff, like really working with a lot of the younger guys. It seems like that's going to be the main focus for Sharp, and very similar to what Danny was basically doing before with Chuck. Kind of like Dwight Schrute in a way, assistant to the regional manager, that kind of thing. Obviously not as weird and funny as Dwight Schrute, but you know, in the more of the you know, main sense of, you know, what Sharp will be doing. That's pretty much the gist of it. But yeah, that's all I got for this week. Thanks again, everybody, so much for all the support. Thank you to Mike Knubel as well, Bill Meltzer for hopping on the show tonight. A couple calls, Tristan, Sean, my dad, as well. Everybody in the chat, Philly Ghost, Sean Fitzpatrick, Jeffrey Savage, Tristan. Thanks everybody for all the support. I appreciate it. And yeah, I will talk to you all again soon. Thanks, guys, and yeah, have a great night, and enjoy Game 5, Vegas and Florida tonight.